Good morning, my name is Stephen York. I'm the pastor of the Stonington United Methodist Church, and I realize that around the United States and in parts of Europe, there are people who are watching this sermon this morning, and we welcome you to this the first Sunday in August, in which I am preaching on the theme of truth, telling the truth to ourselves. The story that we heard this morning from the gospel is very familiar to us who know the King James Version of the Bible. There are a couple of key verses in that translation that was made so lucidly clear in the reading from the Message Bible this morning. The first in the King James is, "Judge not, lest ye be judged with the same judgment that you apply." And then at the end of the passage, the familiar line of Jesus' teaching as expressed in the King James, which is, "Do unto others as you would have done unto you." So we've heard this text, but you've heard it in fresh language this morning. Telling the truth to ourselves. I received a phone call this week from someone that is very close to me with concerns that his daughter might pick up the bottle and start drinking again. There's some stressful things, including the loss of a friend of hers, and knowing her habits and the disease that she struggles with, he was concerned that she might drink. This is out of state, so you're not going to figure out who it is. And he had sought advice from someone else, and they told him to do everything possible to stop his daughter from picking up the bottle. And then he said to me, "What do you think?" And that's at the heart of telling the truth to ourselves this morning. Any of us who are familiar with the 12-step programs know that one must hit bottom before they are willing to get help. And so my counsel to him was this: there's not a thing really that you can do to stop your adult daughter from picking up the bottle and drinking. I said, I suppose you could get a family intervention going and really do some things, but I said that the bottom line is that one has to be willing to tell the truth to themselves, to know that they need help, and to be willing to ask for help. You cannot police children who are adults as much as some of us would like to at times, and make decisions for them. Isn't that a phenomenon? They're 40 and you still want to, straighten them out and protect them, and it doesn't work that way very easily. But you see, in order for people to get better, it's important to look at oneself and to acknowledge that the only way to start or to change is to acknowledge some hard facts. I gave you a quote from Flannery O'Connor last week that was that people resist grace because grace requires change, and change is painful. And so, with this sermon, telling the truth to ourselves, there is an underlying thesis that I'm working from, and that is that we have the capacity to deceive ourselves. We have the capacity to not acknowledge reality. We have the capacity to deny the reality that is going on around us and also within us. And so how do we come at this? How do we deal with the truth? Jesus said in the story that he's teaching on the Mount, you've got to get the beam out of your own eye before you can take the splinter out of someone else's. The natural inclination, according to Carl Jung, is for us to focus on what everyone else needs to do. And very often, Carl Jung said, it's on the very thing that we ourselves need to work on. Because we are so hypersensitive to what people we struggle with ourselves, it's easy to find it and spot it with others. And so in the reading this morning, in the Message Bible, it said, how can you tell someone else they need to wash the smudge off their face if you have a face that is filled with contempt? I personally think, and you may disagree with this, but it's far easier to look at what someone else needs to do, to look at what other people should be doing, to look at their faults, and to find the ointment, or the flaw, or the weakness, or the Achilles heel. It is so much more difficult to be like the priests of the Old Testament in the tabernacle, when God's presence was put in portable tents as Israel went around the wilderness for 40 years, that when they went to, before they did the sacrifices of animals, they would always look into what was called the brazen laver, which was a round pot like this, and its bottom was like glass, and there would be water in it. And they would look at their own imperfections and wash before they entered into do the service for the Lord in the priesthood. And that lesson from the Old Testament is at the heart of Jesus' teaching. We've got to look at ourselves. And that can be painful. To look at ourselves and say, there's nothing I can do about an adult. There's nothing I can do about someone who is making choices for themselves. I'm working from the assumption that they have cognitive abilities now. There's nothing I can do but begin to focus. One of the wonderful things that came along with the 12-step programs over the years was an organization, also a 12-step, called Al-Anon, which was for people who are in family a relationship or friendship with people who struggle with the disease of alcoholism. And so they learned that they needed to have a program that would help and support each other. And often when people go to meetings like that, they think they're going because so-and-so that they know is drinking in their family, could be a spouse or a child, and so I want to find out how to fix them. But the point of the Al-Anon program is to learn how to let go of control. And boy, is that a wake-up call for some people.